Hello again, hockey fans. Are you ready to brave the wild? With me, your host, Paladino Joey, or Joey Awajan. Brave the Wild is available on all of your favorite podcasting apps, and I thank each and every one of you once and always for downloading and listening to this show. It is a great pleasure to be back aboard with you once again today. Kind of a dreary day out there, unfortunately. But also, we want to thank the Hockey Podcast Network, THPN, Dylan and Kyle, so much for having me on board that wonderful website and network, having Brave the Wild on there especially. It means a lot, and I want to thank them oh so very much. But yes, like the dreary weather, I'm not feeling my best. Unfortunately, haven't been sick in forever. Kind of not feeling my best lately, unfortunately. And we'll see. Thank God this will be gone very soon. So, and yeah, the weather's what it is. It always happens this time of year. The ups and downs and ups and downs and ups and downs of weather. It's a headache. It's a pain. We'll see what happens. Everybody stay safe out there if you happen to be local, or at least in this widespread thing in the upper Midwest area, which I can imagine Derek could be affected as well in western Wisconsin there. Of course, with the Crease podcast there. Well, the Wild only played 2 games, but there's all kinds of hockey news. We're going to be a little bit on the newsy side, if that's possible, without babbling too much about game in, game out type stuff. 4 games to preview, 2 games to review. Again, I'll try not to get too long into that, but we get more opinionated as well. Should we jump in? Let's do the games real quick, or at least, real quick. I don't want to babble too much. A 3-2 win over the Florida Panthers. The Wild did build a lead in this game, ended up blowing the lead, but ended up surviving with basically a buzzer beater goal by Joel Eriksson. He's done it a few times. Like last year, he did that against he had a pretty late goal against the Anaheim Ducks that put the Wild into overtime. That was exciting. Very late. I was in attendance for that one. It was Marc-Andre Fleury's last regular season game ever, basically, in the National Hockey League, unless he comes back. So we'll see. I don't think he's going to come back. There was all kinds of rumors and such. Marcus Foligno scored his first goal since returning to the lineup, so that was exciting. And it's cool to see the big boys out there playing together with Jakob Trenin. Big, powerful, imposing line. And, yeah, it's cool. And I was talking about the free agency and such. Was it Jay Bushy that brought up that, or was it Derek? I can't remember. It was one of you two guys that brought up, like, who would you keep, who would you let go of the unrestricted free agents. I was kind of like, Nick Foligno, it's like a maybe type of thing, and it probably still is, but I don't think he would cost anything. That's the good part. Other guys, I'm not so sure. Marcus Johansson, I think that's the end of Marcus Johansson. The Boston game, I think a lot of people saw what they saw, where he just kind of stood there after McCarron won the face-off, and next thing you know, it was just a devastating play that ended up costing the Wild. They didn't get possession of the puck at the wrong time, wrong place type of thing. But, I don't need to babble on and on about highlights and lowlights necessarily, even though it's something you kind of sort of have to talk about when you consider not just that Marcus Johansson has been disappointing after his hot start, but like the why, as to why he's been disappointing. I mean, the effort just isn't there. Bottom line, I mean, you saw the game, right? It was that kind of thing. Jesper Wallstedt faced 20 shots only by Florida and stopped 18 of them. Didn't have to face a whole lot, and luckily did survive, and Joel Eriksson, the hero at the end of the day. Thank God for that. We appreciate him being out there. Scratches, you're off with scratch in this one. Hunter Hate's been kind of in and out of the lineup all year, as is Damon Hunt. Nico Stern's been kind of up and down. Robbie Faber, I don't imagine he's going to play a major role. Zach Bogosian, obviously, is an older guy. It's kind of between him and Petrie getting playing time out there. So I guess you have depth with, like, older veteran guys who've been in big games. Petrie's been in big games. He doesn't have a cup, or Bogosian has cups. Yes, so good for Bogosian with Tampa Bay Lightning. Obviously, a great era there in Tampa. And who knows, maybe they'll win another one, because they're definitely up there. They're like about the top team in the East. Big surprise as well. As Florida, since we're talking about Florida and teams winning cups and, competitive teams and such, so Florida's the 2-time defending Stanley Cup champion, the odds of them making the postseason are slim to none. At this stage, they're a mere 1 game above 500, which is crazy to think about. And you got Carolina and Buffalo. The Buffalo Sabres with 100 points for the first time since the 2009-2010 season. So Brave the Wild did exist. That's how old Brave the Wild is. It did exist the last time the Buffalo Sabres reached 100 points. Before that, Brave the Wild did not exist. It was like in the mid-2000s, basically. So before 07, 08-ish, Brave the Wild started in the fall or late summer of 2008, the late summer of 2008 officially, like astronomically up in the sky. So Pittsburgh would be making the playoffs at the moment. It's just crazy to think about. Even Columbus somehow recovering after a really awful start under Dean Evison, and don't really think it was his fault necessarily. Ottawa and Detroit would be on the outside looking in. That's kind of hard to believe. What happened there? Philadelphia's been kind of chipping away all season. They've been in it, they've been out of it, they've been hanging around, but then just not really. That type of thing. Rangers riding the bottom in the Eastern Conference, which is crazy. And Florida, second last. Toronto. So we can get into the coach situation now. I might as well get into that now. Obviously, the Boston game was awful and depressing. So there's conversation about a John Hines extension. And also the other major news, coaching-wise in the NHL, was Bruce Cassidy was fired. It's like, geez. I understand Vegas has been disappointing this year, but I don't know. I think that's a mistake, but I don't know. I wouldn't have moved on from Bruce Cassidy if I was the Vegas Golden Knights. He was the best coach they ever had, so I don't know. And they've had some big names there at the very least. They've had some names. He's the one that got them over the hump, and who's to say he wouldn't? But hockey's what hockey is, I guess. I don't know if they were tuning him out or what the hell happened. And then they bring in John Tortorella. Yeah, John Tortorella did win a Stanley Cup 22 years ago. So with the Tampa Bay Lightning over the Calgary Flames in a back-and-forth 7-game series right before the frickin' strike, lockout, whatever the heck it was, lockout. Much to our chagrin. We lost an entire NHL season at the time after that Stanley Cup. Definitely not Tortorella or the Calgary Flames or Tampa Bay Lightning's fault necessarily. Maybe certain players on those teams helping contribute to that lockout, but I don't know. Not so much. I mean, it's obviously the owners. You get frustrated with them, and you think the players probably deserve more in the hockey world, especially when you see what's been going on with the NBA, like what they've been making for the last several years now since that major lockout in 2011. The salaries are just outrageous. But like hockey players, like like a Kirill Kaprizov making like 15ish or something. That'd be, he'd be probably like a rotation player in the NBA. Not like a, highest paid player in the league or anything like that. He'd be a rotation player. It's just crazy to think about. Even at $18 million, it'd be like potentially a rotation player. Like, what's Naz Reid making? He's technically rotation, even though he could start. He's making over 20. There's no NHL player making $20 million a year. So on just base salary versus, endorsements and such. But it's kind of crazy when you think about that type of stuff. It's like, I get it. It's how much? Hey, it's the revenue. Da 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 da. You get what you deserve when it comes to the revenue. But I don't know. It is kind of sad. I think hockey should be making more. But then again, obviously the teams, the rosters are larger. There's that too. The NBA, there's less players to spread the money around, so they get more. That kind of thing. Like if you get a nice juicy prime rib, you're hoping you're not going to have to share with, like a nice juicy prime rib before it gets cut, of course, into the pieces. You're hoping you're not going to have to share with 10 people. You'd rather share with 3 or 4 or something, huh? Yeah. Depending on how large it is, I guess. But it's a pretty big prime rib over there in the NBA. The hockey world, it's like they're getting thin slices, man, compared to the NBA. I know. Far be it from for any of us to say, oh gosh, he's only making $3 million a year. That poor son of a gun. Well, yeah, compared to the other guy who's barely playing in the league is making more than that. He's barely even playing in the NBA. Maybe making 5 or 6. So it's kind of funny. Like a 12 man, like you said, oh yeah, he got in. He's a DNP CD. Did not play, coach's decision. That type of thing. So enough of that. There's been conversations ongoing. We've been talking about this off and on this show as well about the whole. We just wish that the playoff seeding could change back to 1 through 8, like it used to be. And obviously in the old days it was this, where like the Wild or the North Stars, the Wild didn't exist yet. The North Stars in the Norris division, or Jack Adams or whatever the hell, but Norris division that we remember more recently, would end up playing the Blues, the Blackhawks, or Detroit Red Wings all the time, because of, the setup. 1 versus 4, 2 versus 3, da-da-da-da-da. Where now it's not 1 versus 4, it's 1 versus, they're playing the wild card, but 2 versus 3 end up playing each other all the time. And then if you end up winning that series, you're going to end up having to play the first place team, even if they, like you're maybe the second or third best team in the conference, but you end up getting stuck with number 1 in round 2 versus maybe a conference final, which would be a lot more epic of a series if you have the number 2 and number 3 or number 1 and number 2 team in the conference final versus the first or second round, that type of thing. I mean, teams like Anaheim and Vegas and such over there in the Pacific, you don't really look at them like, oh man, that's a tough one. Like, boy, they're going to be a tough opponent. Now, teams get hot and everything, but Anaheim, 87 points, the Wild have 94. Vegas, obviously, they moved on from Bruce Cassidy. They were disappointing. I mean, let's be honest. And they did win their first game with John Tortorella, but, I mean, who were they playing? Was it Vancouver? So it's like BFD in that sense. But anyhow, there's that. Well, we all saw what Bruce Cassidy did to John Hines last year in the playoffs in the Vegas series. He outcoached him. He outcoached John Hines. Would I take Bruce Cassidy today if the Wild could have him? Yes. In a second, in a heartbeat. I would take Bruce Cassidy today if the Wild could have Bruce Cassidy today. Unfortunately, it's like, we're probably looking at possibly an extension with John Hines. A lot of people locally are thinking maybe pump the brakes on that. I agree with that. John Hines has been pretty good, but I don't know. Am I in a huge rush to keep John Hines necessarily? It's kind of hard to say. It really is. God bless him and everything, but hard to say if I want to keep John Hines necessarily long term, especially if you have a possibility of somebody like that becoming available. The conversation with Bruce Cassidy is maybe it could be Toronto because they've just not worked out with under Craig Berube, who's obviously he'd won a Stanley Cup with the St. Louis Blues. Like it's kind of a similar situation when you put the two and two together. St. Louis had their moments at times under previous coaches, and then ultimately, David Jiricek agreed to a 2-year extension worth $1.5 million with the Philadelphia Flyers. Okay, anyhow, but no, he had won a Stanley Cup with St. Louis in 2019. They stayed competitive, heck, beat the Wild in this series. Coached the Wild coach in that situation as well. Craig Berube did. And I believe that was Dean Evison, right? And yeah, they had their ups and downs, though, generally speaking, and eventually things got stale, and he left there and got, it's Toronto. Craig Berube's going to turn Toronto around. And then it's not worked out at all for whatever reason. Or it could be a similar situation, Bruce Cassidy wins the Stanley Cup with Vegas, gets them over the hump, out coaches the Minnesota Wild coach at the time of John Hines in a series. And then, things start to not work out so great in Vegas after winning the Cup. It's a couple years later, and then they move on from him, and then he goes to Toronto, and who knows, might be the same thing. It feels like nobody could coach the Toronto Maple Leafs. I mean, maybe Scotty Bowman in his prime could. I don't know. I don't know what's going on in Toronto. It just feels like a disaster, no matter who you put there as head coach or whatever. Obviously, with Mike Babcock, he was Mike Babcock. It didn't work out. And there was a lot of interesting information that came out about him later on with he was basically like a kind of an abusive person. Like he's like too far. It's one thing you yell at players, but maybe you went a bit too far. And of course, was way too crazy and controlling in his very short tenure that basically never existed with the Columbus Blue Jackets. Anyhow, I would love to have Bruce Cassidy as the Minnesota Wild head coach. Chances of that happening are slim to none, unfortunately. Not because he wouldn't necessarily want to come here. It's just probably just the timing. It's not going to happen. Damn it. So it's frustrating. And classic Minnesota, the timing of this and the timing of that. Like a John Wooden, up the tornado or the blizzard that supposedly that was the legend of the Gophers were possibly going to be able to get John Wooden here. And it didn't work out because of a blizzard. He goes with UCLA, and the rest was history. All right, enough of that. Going into old school college basketball. What the heck? Where am I going with this? Yeah, I don't want to talk about the Wild and Boston game. That was ugly mother bleeping game. Yet it felt like I don't know what it is. Like sometimes late at night I get strange. I get philosophical. Like it's like you're tired, but your mind starts wandering. It's like you're kind of in a dream. You're in a trance almost because you're kind of semi falling asleep. And that's kind of what happened when I was tweeting out about somehow, some way. It was like I was having a vision. That the Minnesota Wild and Boston Bruins would meet in the Stanley Cup Final as soon as this season. Which some people might be like, really? This season, huh? Maybe. I mean, I don't think it's impossible. Obviously, the Wild do not have the number one center we would like to have to go on a true playoff run and make a Stanley Cup run, but who knows? I mean, teams can go on playoff runs, Did the Minnesota Wild have a number one center in 2003? Not even close. And they, I don't know, if if whatever his name was, Sebastian Jaguar didn't basically have some kind of miracle like padding and stop every single shot possible, the Minnesota Wild might have gone to the Stanley Cup Finals. That doesn't mean they would have won, but they would have gotten there against Jacques' old team, the New Jersey Devils, who probably would have lost, sadly, because Anaheim lost too in a very close series, despite the. It turned out after after we got beat or whatever. That was the illegal equipment he was wearing. Yeah, that figures. Just like the New Orleans Saints. Oh, that was there was a bounty going on. There was bounty hunting going on. Headhunters on the Saints because of their defensive coordinator. Yeah, after the fact. Yeah, after. Thanks. Well, oh, sorry, Minnesota. Too bad. It's over. Sorry. It is what it is. You lost. Thanks, guys. But anyhow, I don't know. I just had a weird vision that the Wild and Boston Bruins will be in the Stanley Cup Final this year, or maybe in a year or two. But it could possibly be this year with the way Boston's playing and the way the Wild are assembled. But maybe it will be in a couple of years. Who knows? Maybe a player or two comes to Minnesota, and maybe things are actually heading in a better direction than they appear to be at the moment. Quinn Hughes appears to be, well, he's been playing too much. 31 minutes and 3 seconds. What was it, like a double shift or two in the game? It's like too much. It's over the top. Brock Faber, 26-34. It's too long. I understand you'd love to have those guys out there. They're the best you got. But I don't know. Somebody like a Middleton should probably have a few more minutes. Even Bogosian and Petrie should have more minutes. Brodin, of course. We're always terrified to death of him getting hurt again because, well, it's kind of the way the story's been with Brodin throughout most of his career, up and down with injuries. But otherwise, this was an ugly game. They lost. The Frost lost. That rolls right off your tongue. But anyhow, an ugly game. Poor effort. Guys like Marcus Johansson, he was on the fourth line in this one, or he was getting minimal minutes anyway. He only had 11 minutes and 5 seconds, but I mean, I can understand why he would have that, because he's been very disappointing. They basically were the fourth line, Brink and McCarron with Marcus Johansson. So, again, if he's one of those free agents, obviously he's an unrestricted free agent in the offseason, I'd say it's time to finally move on. Because it's kind of like same old thing. Like, he'll show signs, encouraging signs, like, yep, that's why we kept him, and that's why he's an NHL player, and that's why at the time he was making, a little more than he is now. He was never making that much. But, like what's his name would always say, it's a bargain, blah, blah, blah. Like, what are you complaining about? Well, eventually it's like, it needs to be somebody else's roster spot. I think a younger player that hopefully can show more promise and more consistency at the very least. Maybe just be generally a better player. And we're hoping and praying, even if we are grasping for straws when it comes to, prospects and such. But I don't know. I'd rather grasp for straws with a young player than grasp for straws with a guy who constantly disappoints. After a good start or whatever, or a good couple games, he constantly disappoints. I think you're grasping for straws with that too, at times. So that's my point of view on Marcus Johansson. You can kind of guess where we're going with him in a few minutes here, or a few seconds possibly. It was an overall frustrating day. Joel Eriksson, thankfully playing and healthy and such. Everybody's always scared about any type of stupid thing. Let's not even say the word. Like the Timberwolves with Jaden McDaniels is week to week. That's just terrific. So that totally sucks. I mean, heck, he's making $30 million a year too. $30 million, and that's not star money in the NBA anymore. That used to be like the best player in the league, and not anymore. That's like your second. That's the third best player on the Wolves. $30 million. That'd be like like a Boldy making $30 million. Imagine Kaprizov and Hughes are making like 50. Think about it. It's just crazy. That's about what it would be. Of course, Hughes isn't at his big mark like Mr. Kaprizov is, but we'll get off of that. Just, again, a frustrating, disappointing night. Kaprizov did have a nice goal in the games of Carrillo and Hardman, but overall, not a fun night at all. Boston kind of kicked our butts from the get-go. It was down. They were down 3-0 early, and they've been playing super well as Boston, and the Wild have not. So that's how that story goes. And we'll get into the other stories here in a minute as well. Of course, some of them I think would have to go into second segment, and they should. Oh, yeah. No, I'll mention one real quick before I pass out the awards. There's conversation in Vancouver already. Now, this is where it's kind of getting NBA-like a little bit, sort of. Steve William, they're talking about a possible 8-year, $8 million per extension for Steve William, who's done pretty much nothing in Vancouver. I get it. Again, you're hoping for the best here. You're hoping for a strong future. So far, Steve William hasn't shown me that he's really the star player. I don't really see it. I want to see it, and I know a lot of people did see something before, but I don't know. You had this crazy game with the Vancouver Canucks and the Colorado Avalanche, dressed up as their former location, their former team, which I would love to see that happen again. Dude, I bring those back in a second. The Quebec Nordiques, of course. I take Quebec. I bring back the Quebec Nordiques in a heartbeat if that was possible, but unfortunately, can't we go back a day? This thing is sorry. Yeah, but a wild and crazy game. The Canucks did end up winning 8-6. They took a big lead. Colorado came all the way back. Vancouver got a late goal and then the empty netter. So that's who we're actually playing next. Brock Besser with a hat trick and an assist. Rossi has been playing a bit better. A couple of assists late, and now he's at 30 points on the season. So he's definitely been stepping up of late after a really slow start. Liam Ogren chipping in an assist and William chipping in an assist. William is at 24 24 points in the season. He's a minus 27 overall. Yes, Vancouver's been terrible, but minus 27. Jeez, it's pretty rough. He's been a minus 18 in 37 games with Vancouver, 10 points there, 14 points with Minnesota, and a minus 9. So either way, he's a minus 9 even here when the Wild were playing fairly well before Steve William was traded in the Quinn Hughes trades. But $8 million per, 8 years, $8 million per. So that's really interesting to think about. All of 16 of Liam Ogren's points were in Vancouver because he didn't score a single freaking point here. But that could be an interesting conversation there. Steve William, 8 years, $8 million. It sounds like a lot. You're really going for potential there because again, I frankly haven't seen it yet. But I guess hey, if they do it, it's their choice. And that's how I look at it. The other parts of the stories will be in the second segment here when we talk about the prospects and such. Mike Modano Award winner for this episode. I guess Joel Eriksson Ek for nailing that late one against Florida. I mean, and I obviously always enjoy his play. I think he's one of the most underrated players in the entire NHL. So Joel Eriksson Ek's bringing that home. The James Shepard Memorial popcorn maker, or he should be making popcorn. As I try not to sneeze on you here, sorry. Is Marcus Johansson. Yes, he's been disappointing to say the least. Definitely not been the guy he was earlier this season. So Marcus Johansson's bringing home the James Shepard Memorial and should be making popcorn, frankly. And we'll see if he is when we can bring Steve William back into the lineup. Or excuse me, Steve William back in the lineup. Danila Yurov, his draft class partner there a few years back. So there's that. With that, we'll take a quick break. We'll come back, look at the prospects, and get into some other conversation about the NCAA tournament. And we are back here on Brave the Wild, segment number 2. Look at the upcoming 4 games. Vancouver Canucks, and see how that goes. That's tonight, hosted in Grand Casino Arena. And then a couple of nooners, back-to-back nooners, Saturday, Sunday on the road. Ottawa, the capital of Canada, basically, at noon. They're fighting for the playoffs over there. They're kind of like the 8th, 9th seed over there in the Eastern Conference. Detroit Red Wings, same thing. TNT in that case. So I guess the Ottawa game will be kind of like regular local televisions on both sides and such, and ESPN Plus if you have it, which I do. I hope you do as well, because you can keep up with a lot of games. Detroit Red Wings in Detroit, of course, not super far from Ottawa, I'm sure. It's really not. On TNT, a nooner there. So that should be a fun one. And then the Seattle Kraken, who are also kind of fighting around in the lower parts of the Western Conference. They were in the mix before. Now, not so much. That'll be a 7 p.m. game. Grand Casino Arena. The Wild will be kind of home away a bit here. Then we head to Dallas, Nashville, St. Louis, and Anaheim. Hard to believe next week we'll be previewing the final 4 games of the regular season. So hopefully this cold will be a long gone, and hope the quality of the sound of my voice is not too bad and it's not too obnoxious to listen to, because I know that can be annoying to listen to sometimes. So I deeply apologize for that. First, though, before we jump into the previews, we're going to hear from DraftKings right here and right now. DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL, is built for the fastest game on ice. With player props and live betting, every shift, every shot, every save gives you options to get in the game with DraftKings Sportsbook. So now we can look at the actual game, well, basically to win, you could call it. There's the puck line as well. You can follow that. But New York Rangers hosting Montreal. They are underdogs plus 133. Montreal 138. Ottawa Senators in Buffalo. This could be a first-round matchup, quite possibly. Minus 113 for the hosting Senators. We'll be playing them again on Saturday night, or Saturday noon. Buffalo, the visitor, plus 108. Again, 100 points for them on the season. A couple others up and coming. Yeah, Minnesota, Vancouver, the Wild are so heavily favored. Minus 376 over the Vancouver Canucks, who have fallen off the face of the earth. They're plus 355. Vancouver visiting Grand Casino Arena tonight. Chicago, Edmonton could have been a fun matchup before. Edmonton's been playing a little better lately. Minus 212 hosting the Blackhawks, who are plus 203. Vegas, well, they're still heavy favorites over Calgary, who's kind of fallen off the face of the earth as well. They're kind of like Vancouver, minus 223. And Calgary, plus 213 if you want to bet the underdog there. Excuse me. Yeah, so we'll see what happens with some of those up-and-coming games. Always fun to keep up with that. New customers bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code THPN. That's code THPN to earn $5. Turn $5 into $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. In Connecticut, call 888-797-7777 or visit ccpg.org. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, wager tax plus through may apply in Illinois. 21 plus in most states. Void in Ontario. Restrictions apply. Bet must win to receive bonus bets, which expire in 7 days. Minimum odds required. For additional terms and responsible gambling resources, see dkng.com/audio. Limited time offer. Copyright 2026 NHL. All rights reserved. Or reserved, as I like to say, right? It's humanly possible. Vancouver Canucks, already talked about them like 15 times with the players there, so we're just going to skip. Okay, I'm just kidding. April 2nd, an ode to Chloe the cat. Right about the time I'm recording this is probably about the time she was put to sleep. Right about the exact time. 19 years ago, Chloe the cat, legendary Chloe cat, was put to sleep today. 19 years ago, right about this exact time. Crazy. So a little bit before 10 a.m., basically. If you get the idea there. Injury report, the Wild have no injuries. Keep it that way, please, 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 please. Evander Kane, the former Edmonton Oiler, day to day. Kane did not play on April 1st, basically. Philip Scheitel, injury reserve. Vancouver Canucks placed him on injury reserve Wednesday, Feb 25. Thatcher Demko, remember him. He's been out since early January. They said on March the 3rd, Demko was placed in long-term injury reserve and is shut down for the season. Understandably. Unfortunately, the relay races are starting up the stairs again. Annoying people. Derek Forbort has been out basically the whole season since the end of October, basically, around Halloween there. So, yep, bummer there. Comparisons, Vancouver's 31st in goals, the Wild are 12th. They're also 31st in assists. Power play, the Wild are 3rd somehow. Vancouver's 19th. Goals against, Vancouver's 32nd. Penalty kill, 32nd. And penalty minutes, 17th. The Wild are 4th in goals against somehow. It doesn't feel that way, does it? Penalty kill, we're 17th. And penalty minutes, 29th. penalty minutes. Anyhow, feels like a winnable game for the Minnesota Wild, and they need to take advantage of it. They absolutely must. Somehow we did lose to Vancouver last time around. That was just slightly frustrating, I suppose. December the 6th, not long after the trade, of course. I can imagine some frustrations for players getting traded, but it is what it is. The Wild did lose that one. The Wild did beat Vancouver 5-2 when Quinn Hughes was still there at the very beginning of November. The Wild were in desperate need of a win at that stage because after a terrible start in October for John Hines of the Minnesota Wild. Vancouver did recently beat Colorado, like I just talked about. Before that, they had lost 4 in a row, at least. Before, the Wild have been up and down, up and down, up and down, losing 3 out of our last 4 or 5. So certainly frustrating. The Wild do need to take advantage and win this rubber match here to get it done, to win the season series 2-1 versus Vancouver. It's kind of sad that we're at that point, but the Wild will win 4-2. The most likely guy to score in the game is going to be Boldy. All right, so we'll continue here. Ottawa Senators, a classic. 38, 26, and 10. Vancouver was, 20 games under 500, so that's crazy. Ottawa Senators, injury report over there. Yeah, there's some injuries, unfortunately, in Ottawa, and they're again fighting for the playoff spot. Jake Sanderson, big prospect years ago, out and has been out for, well, we'll see. Not too long, only like the end of March here. Well, he's been out since the beginning of March. But they're talking about won't be available versus the Panthers on March 31st. Okay, so that's interesting. Injured reserve for Nick Jensen, defenseman, on March 17th. Upset on March 17th, undergo knee surgery to repair a torn meniscus. Yeah, but will be out approximately for six weeks. Sorry, torn meniscus, huh? Dennis Gilbert. Senators announced that Gilbert will miss approximately 3 weeks. That was on March 26th. Thomas Jabbar had foot surgery had surgery on his right forearm on March 26th, and will be out of action at least 4 weeks. Carter Yakumchuk, yep, he was kind of nailed against the wall, if I remember correctly. No update on his status after the contest. Okay, so that was March 31st, recently here. You remember seeing that one, unfortunately for them. Minnesota Wild, Ottawa. This should be a back and forth type of thing. I don't know. This is one of those funny games in the way the Wild have been playing. I'm not all that confident that the Wild will beat the Ottawa Senators in this game. I hope they can, and I hope they will, but I don't know. This feels like it might be the funky one here of the group, at least. Season series, the Wild did beat Ottawa 3-2 back on December the 13th. The Wild were playing so well at the time. I got a feeling it's going to be similar, like a 3-2 loss in Ottawa. So we'll have like a season split. I have a strange feeling it's going to go that direction. Most likely guy to score in this game, or just kind of a fun conversation, Brock Faber, who did reach 50 points. So a nice milestone this past week. 50 points for Brock Faber. Pretty amazing season. And that was in the Twitter as well, where I was like, wow, this is pretty cool. But the Wild unfortunately dropped this one. Hopefully can squeak out a point. At Detroit, TNT, Sunday. April the 5th. I'm starting to lose my voice now. That's just great. The only injured guy on Detroit is Michael Rasmussen. Red Wings said on Tuesday, March 24th, that Rasmussen hasn't resumed skating yet and could be out another 7 to 10 days from returning to the lineup, basically. And that was on March 24th. So we'll see. Might return against the Wild at that point, right around then. Detroit is 22nd in goals, 13th in power play, 10th in goals against, 23rd in the penalty kill, and 26th in penalty minutes. Forgot to look at Ottawa's comparisons real quick. Let's get into that super fast here. Apologize for this. Ottawa's 11th in goals, 9th in assists, 11th in the power play, 18th in goals against, 30th in the penalty kill, meaning they're terrible. So in the penalty kill, sorry. In penalty minutes, they're 8th, so they get a decent amount of penalty minutes as well, and they have a bad penalty kill. So it's pretty easy to see what their undoing is, because they're penalty kill and they're too many penalty minutes. So shame on Ottawa. If they were a little more disciplined, they might have a chance to be in the postseason. Cam Talbot's still a goaltender in Ottawa. I don't even look at some of the players in the other teams, but it's okay, generally speaking. I was looking at, Vancouver, I talked about them a bit. Elias Pettersson does have 47 points on the season, but overall it's been kind of a rough one over there. Quinn Hughes did have 23 points in the 26 games before it traded to the Wild. The Ottawa leading scorer is Tim Strutzel with 76 points, 32 of them goals. Drake Batherson also has 32 goals. Brady Tkachuk has missed about 20 games or so. 51 points for him. 20 of them are actual goals. The goaltending, Linus Ullmark has had as good moments. I've always been a fan. 23 wins, 11 losses. 2 shutouts on the year and a save percentage of .285. Let's keep going. Apologize. Detroit Red Wings, they are 39, 27, and 8. Remember, they had the one guy out. Alex DeBrincat, the former Blackhawk, over a point a game, looking very good with Detroit. 37 goals, 41 assists. I'm sure the Blackhawks wouldn't mind keeping him around. Dylan Larkin, a player we've always coveted here. Would love to have him. He's got 30 goals. He's a top-line center. He's a great player. Love to have him if we could, but unfortunately we don't. Lucas Raymond was a part of that draft years ago and ended up being a pretty nice draft pick for the Detroit Red Wings. I think they took the right guy over Rossi at the time. A lot of people thought they might even take Marco Rossi, but ended up being Lucas Raymond, and it's got a good pick there by Detroit years and years ago now, 2020. It's going to be a little while ago now. Cam Talbot's, well, he's actually, John Gibson's been the main guy. Talbot's been adequate. Basically 3 goals a game, just adequate. Save percentage of 89.2, 12 wins, 8 losses. Where John Gibson, the former Duck, and the former actor, okay, I'm just kidding, 27, 19, 263 goals against average, and a save percentage of 90 with 4 shutouts on the year. So if you see Talbot in that, well, the only good part for Detroit might be like, they're seeking revenge, as they always like to when they play against their former team. Oh, it's going to be a special moment, that kind of thing. But, well, we'll see how special it truly is at the end of the day. Got a feeling it's going to be Gibson. But, well, then again, who knows? The Wild will probably have Volstead in this one, and hopefully he's more than up to the challenge. That would be wonderful if that was the case. So, yes, we're going to keep moving here. Apologize. The Wild will beat Detroit, though. I have a feeling the Wild will beat Detroit. Out of the season series, obviously it's just one other game. The Wild did beat Detroit in OT, 4-3 in Grand Casino Arena. This one will be in Detroit. I don't think it's Joe Louis Arena anymore. That would be kind of crazy if it still was. Little Caesars Arena. Yep, that's right. So I think the Wild win this one. Final score 4-2, an empty netter type of thing. 4-2, empty netter. Kirill Kaprizov multi-goal game versus the Detroit Red Wings. Multi-goal game for Kirill Kaprizov. He has a nice little breakout after he's been struggling a bit, unfortunately. The rubber match here of the 4 games anyway. Seattle Seahawks. Seattle Kraken. Seahawks won the Super Bowl, unfortunately. Seattle Kraken. Yeah, I didn't want the Seahawks to win. Sorry. 32, 30, and 11. They've dropped off. They're not what they were earlier in the season. It's been a bummer for them. They've kind of fallen off the face of the earth and da-da-da. The goaltending's been adequate when Joey Decor's in. But then again, Philip Grubauer finally stepped up. He'd been such a disappointment for so long. Everybody thought, what a signing. Oh, my God, from the Avalanche and such. And then funny, the Avalanche went on to win the Cup. But we'll digress off of that to where we want to be. That was that 22 Avalanche won the Cup that next year. Man, they were good. They're kind of like that this year, too. Kraken 2 games above 500. I said that like 6 times already. This will be in Grand Casino. I said that 6 times too. Kraken have 26th in goals, 17th on the power play, 11th in goals against. Yeah, the goaltending's been kind of keeping them alive. Penalty kill, they're the second worst in the league at 31st, and penalty minutes they're 30th, which is good. Right, just 4 more. No, they have less penalty minutes than the Wild even. So, Wild have been picking them up a bit. Wild have a chance to sweep the season series, and I think we will. Seattle has only won 1 of their last 5 games, and it was against the Tampa Bay Lightning. Go figure. It was against the Tampa Bay Lightning. They said they lost to Columbus in Florida along the way, getting shut out by the Edmonton Oilers as well a few nights back. Injury report, very quickly. Ryan Winterton. The announcement on March 23rd, Winterton will take a temporary leave of absence from the team to attend a family matter. Okay. Interesting. Day-to-day Shane Wright has been kind of day-to-day since March the 28th. And Max McCormick out with a hip on April 1st. Happy April Fool's Day. He's actually playing. Just kidding. God, this person. Hyper people upstairs. I'll never understand it. Slap their face. So dumb. But anyhow, it's every damn Thursday. My God. Can't do my show in peace. Oh, it's so dumb. It's like, I'm trying to record a podcast down here. Shut the hell up. No, yeah, like they'd care. Jerks. But anyhow, that's just how I roll. I get annoyed with, I don't like noise. Do you? Do you like noise? If you like noise, okay, I don't know you. I don't know you if you like noise. Sorry. But the Wild will beat the Seattle Kraken and go 3-1 this upcoming week. Get 6 or 7 out of 8 points, in my humble opinion, which would be nice. The Wild could use that right now. They've been struggling of late, but they could use a nice pickup here. These are winnable games, and go out and win them, damn it. Why not win these games? The Wild have a better record than every one of these teams. Win at least 3 out of 4 and get it done. Guy that will score in this one, I think it's going to be a funky goal, like Jake Middleton is going to score in this one. But the Wild end up winning 4-1 in this game. I think the Wild win 4-1 in this game. A nice performance, generally speaking. I could look at the Kraken just for a second here. Eberle's the leading scorer with 23 goals, 28 assists, 51 points. Matt Murray's been in a couple games, and he's actually been good in those 5 games. 2.21 goals against average. Joey Decord has a 2.92 goals against average, but 2 shutouts. Phil Grubauer has been outstanding. Well, good anyway. 13-10 with a goals against average of 2.58. He's actually been even better, so good for him. But the Wild went 4-1 in this one somehow, some way. It'll feel nice. Again, probably an empty netter along the way to make it 3-1, make it a little prettier with us. But I think Jake Middleton will score in the game. A crazy, crazy prediction there. Like a DraftKings type of thing. So let's jump into the prospects a bit. Generally speaking, in the NCAA tournament, well, the unfortunate news is Charlie Stromell has a fractured ankle. When they lost this past week, they being the Michigan State Spartans, not the Wolverines, of course. The Wolverines are still very much alive, trying to win the whole thing. They were the number 1 overall seed in the entire tournament. Michigan got past UConn, but lost to Wisconsin. God, so Wisconsin's in the Frozen Four. Can you believe that? No, I can't. I thought they were going to lose to Dartmouth. And they beat Dartmouth pretty bad. And then skated past the, just barely squeezed past the Michigan State Spartans. Mr. Stromell was trying to block a shot. It hit his ankle instead of like a butt or something, which is what you're hoping for. And he has a fractured ankle, so not only will Stromell be out for the rest of the tournament, he's not going to play for the Iowa or Minnesota Wild. So, bugger, as they might say in Australia, bugger. That's a bugger, all right. So, very disappointing in that sense. It's too bad. He'd been playing so freaking well, so huge shame. So, just sad news. Sad news to say the least. At least it's not like it's not like a devastating, career-threatening type thing, but it still sucks one way or another. It kind of derails things a bit. Takes a little of the fun and the momentum out of. Well, take some momentum out of the tournament, the fun out of the tournament, and the possibility of Charlie Stromell wearing some type of Christmas color or North Star color this season, or green and wheat color in Iowa. Yeah, it's a bummer. I would have loved to see Charlie Stromell, but it is what it is. It is what it is. We'll get back to the tournament in a moment here. David Spacek continues to play pretty well for the Iowa Wild. He's now at 30 points. Iowa Wild. I'm talking too fast. Iowa Wild. Dylan Gambrell, I said it backwards, is now the leading scorer for Iowa, but he's a 29-year-old, minor leaguer. 35 points officially for him. He's a -2, whereas Jerry Mayhew is right behind him at -16. Can you believe that? David Spacek is a +2. David Spacek is a +2 for the Iowa Wild. I mean, he's the best player on the team, as far as I'm concerned. 30-point defenseman and a +2 on the Iowa Wild, who've been stuck in most of the year. In fact, they lost 5-0 last night. 5-0. So, yeah. 25 assists, tied with Dylan Gambrell. Tied with the most assists on the team. David Spacek is having a hell of a year, and he's 22. I'm very happy the Minnesota Wild kept him. I think he's the better David. Juracek did get re-signed, 2-year extension, $1.5 million, with the Philadelphia Flyers. That's where he was traded to recently. I'm happy the Wild have David Spacek still. Good move. Good move. Good move. Hunter Haight, again, has been playing fairly strong. He is a -15, though, in Iowa, which is disappointing. 25 points. Spacek, though, my God, again, 30 points and a +2. I mean, that's a highlight for me with Iowa. That's your MVP for the Iowa Wild, as far as I'm concerned. He gets the award, no doubt. Oh, my God, what is this noise? Why? I don't understand. Oh, it's too much. Anyhow, yes, you'd be annoyed too, believe me. It's ridiculous. Jack Pert, yep, he's had his ups and downs this year. He's a minus 20. It's terrible. 14 points on the year in 56 games alive, but minus 20. Ugh. Terrible, as they might say. Carson Lambos, that's another one. Almost forgotten now. 18 points. And he's a minus 3, which is, again, that's pretty solid in 61 games for how Iowa has been. That's pretty solid. 18 points, though. Spacek clearly doing a bit more. His offense has definitely helped the plus minus as well. And, again, I mean, I'm glowing about him because I'm very happy, to say the least. Detroit, yeah, we'll get to Denver in a minute. I don't know. I don't want them I don't want them to win. They're back in the tournament, the Frozen Four again. Woodsky, again, like I always talk about, facing a fire rate squad over there in Moose Jaw. His save percentage is almost 91, yet his goals against average is 3.5. That's all you need to know. That's all you need to know. The defense in front of him has been pretty crappy, but he's a pretty good goalie. You know, underrated. Like, the stats are screwing him up a bit. It's weird, though. It was kind of the opposite with the Red Deer Rebels. Goals against average was reasonable, and the save percentage was 89, so I don't get it. But they're making him work harder in Moose Jaw, to say the least. It's been getting like hit with a Moose Jaw. I don't know, but I like Woodsky. Hope the best for him. Sebastian Soliani, 7 points, way better than what he's been. He's been just a point guy the last couple of years, single point in the minimal games. But in SM League in 40 games now, 7 points. This is in the Finnish League, where they just don't score a whole lot. Right shot defenseman, Sebastian Solioni. Aaron Kiviharu, 17 points, again, still at that career high. Did not gain any points recently. 48 points for him. And now the postseason has begun with 2 assists in 5 games for Kiviharu. Good for him. We'll keep moving here. We'll keep freaking moving. Ryder Ritchie, Boston University, not in the tournament, 17 points in 36 games for the right shot right winger. He's 19 years of age, so wishing him the best there. Justin Kipke, Arizona State, did also not make the tournament, only 13 points in 34 games, after being a hell of a scorer in the junior level. Klippenstein, that'd be Carter Klippenstein, no postseason there, looks like either. Brandon Wheatkings, 28 points in 38 games this past season. More of a physical guy, of course. Lirim Amadovsky, I will screw it up. Lirim Amadovsky, he's been in the postseason, 2 points in 4 games for him. After an okay season, like a step forward from the year before, but still nothing to write home about for Lirim Amadovsky. Adam Benek, he's going to college coming up soon, but we'll see how that goes. 3 postseason games, 3 points, so good for him after a 77-point season in 48 games. Theodor Holkvist, again, no postseason at the moment. 30 games at the minor pro and 3 assists for him on the season. The minor pro level in the Swedish league, turns 19 on June 14th. Again, a super young guy there. So to the tournament quickly, very quickly. I'll try not to babble too much. I got to get going. Michigan did get past Bentley and then ultimately got past Western Michigan. Minnesota State beat them. And Michigan did get past Western Michigan. No, they didn't play Western Michigan. They got past Duluth. Denver got past Western Michigan. And then, Michigan and Denver will face off in the Frozen Four. Very interesting there. Michigan State did get past UConn, but did not get past Wisconsin, who did beat Dartmouth. Wisconsin's in the Frozen Four. Ugh. And then North Dakota, the number 2 overall seed, got past Merrimack and Quinnipiac. Quinnipiac did beat Providence, but did not beat North Dakota. So Quinnipiac will not make another Frozen Four appearance like I was kind of semi-hoping for, just because I don't want North Dakota. North Dakota versus Wisconsin, 2 teams you'd like to see fall in a black hole or something, unless you actually like them, but I'll pass on that. I'll pass. Frozen Four there with those 2, and then Michigan, Denver. Michigan does have the most national championships. It's actually Michigan and Denver have the 2 most national championships all time. They've just had a ton. They had some years ago, and they've had a ton of them recently. Most of Michigan's were way back in the day, like players that would be older than Lunani. I'm not kidding. I'm not trying to be rude to Lunani, but they're older than Lunani. They played in the 50s. So Lunani played in the 60s in the college, so way back in the day as well. Early 60s, unfortunately. She was a little younger. I certainly do. I got a feeling, I think Michigan will get past Denver, and the national championship game will probably be North Dakota, Michigan. with the Michigan Wolverines winning the whole thing. That's my prediction coming up here. They always skip the weekend because they don't want to compete with the basketball championships. They don't want to compete with the basketball Final Four. The hardwood floor. No, the hardwood four. That would sound funny. Hardwood four. That would be funny. But the Frozen Four champions are going to be the Michigan Wolverines. Not Michigan State, of course, with the fractured ankle and Charlie Strummel. Injury to insult, unfortunately, for the Michigan State Spartans. So I don't even like the Spartans, but I like Strummel, so I can hate the Spartans again because Strummel is no longer a member of the team anymore. It was a senior year, so that's it. Charlie Strummel will be wearing Minnesota green, not Michigan State green. Should have been wearing maroon and gold. Maybe it would have helped Bob, but I don't know. Maybe would have, or would have just been disappointing. Who knows? Brett Larson, wishing him the best, though. Gophers head coach going forward. Like it or not, he's the head coach. So, yep, and I'm wishing him the best with the Minnesota Gophers. With that, we're going to take a quick break and come back for fan interaction. And we are back here on Brave the Wild fan interaction segment. Let's just get going right now. Move, right? That was like thoughts on another up and down week. Tag it, hashtag BTWMN. There you go. So Tom Hand leading things off here and batting second. He's Dan Gladden and Chuck Knobloch. And then you got Jay Bushy batting third, like Kirby Puckett, and then Derek Krelska comes in like Ken Herbeck to try to clean him up, and Chili Davis, and so on and so forth. It's the lightning round, but with some power, some heavy hitting with Ken Herbeck, Chili Davis, whoever. Mike Pagliarulo, when he actually hit a little bit still. By the time he got into the Twins, he couldn't hit like he could before with the Yankees years before, but still a good player. Let's be honest, though, when you think about Twins third baseman, you don't think about Royce Lewis. You don't think about Scott Leyes or any of the others. You think about Gary Gaetti. Yep. Gary Gaetti. But let's get to Tom Hand with the Dan Gladden and Chuck Knobloch here. All right, he said, please, for the love of Gretzky, why in the holy bleep are they not resting guys to be ready for the night lights in round one? Quinn Hughes still logging insane time on ice. Numbers is asinine. Home ice means nothing. Agreed, because the Wild have never won a series with home ice. So that's 1,000% right. Home ice does mean nothing. And, yay, we got Game 7 at home. Finally, it semi meant something. I mean, Florida they won when they went up 3-0 and then lost the 3 games in a row. And they, fortunately, by the skin of their teeth, won Game 7 at home. That was like the first Game 7 win in forever. Seems to always go to the wrong team, like Toronto hosting the frickin' evil piece of crap Dodgers in the Game 7 of the World Series, and they had that thing and they ended up losing a back and forth battle, kind of like when the Cleveland Indians also hosted the Chicago Cubs in Game 7 of the World Series back in 2016. Back and forth, and of course the road team won both of those. I was okay with the Cubs winning, felt bad for Cleveland fans, and I felt awful for, and yes, I just can't stand the Dodgers. So anybody thinking like you just wanted Canada to lose, I don't think the Dodgers represent America at all. They're just greedy. But then again, some of you may think America's greedy. I don't agree with you. Next, Tom Hand says the team finishes the regular season with 8 games in 13 days with all kinds of travel involved. Please tell me Hines is going to sit some of the quote-unquote names so round 1 isn't over in 5 games. You put a rhyme in there, didn't you? I saw what you did. Yep, and so that's the general theme of Tom Hand is, for the love of bleep, basically, yes, so, let's minimize the minutes or even sit guys out for a bit. I would say so, too. I would say so, too, because the Wild are locked in. We're probably going to be the number 3 in our division. No one's going to catch us from below, and we're not going to catch Dallas. And even if we do, great. I'd love to have home ice over the Stars, but, again, it may not mean a whole lot of anything in the NHL. The Wild series they won, all 4 of the series they won, they did not have home ice advantage. Historically, the 4 series the Wild have won, they did not have home ice advantage. They beat Colorado, twice historically, St. Louis once, and Vancouver once, right? That's who the Wild have beaten. We were the underdog in all 4 of those. All the home ice series, the Wild lost. Like, especially getting, whooped in 5 games by St. Louis a couple times, by Mike Yeo and Craig Berube. Both St. Louis, of course, Colorado. That was a 6-game series. Good series, kind of, but the Wild just were not as good. And we were going up against a pretty good backup goalie, basically. That was annoying, and he dominated us. That would have been Theodore at the time. So that was really frustrating. That was bullcrap, wasn't it? Jay Bushy, batting third, number 34. Jay Bushy. Yep, here we go. Oh, boy. Now this piece of dog dookie, idiotic, can't have more noise to distract me, can I? No, 0. Jay Bushy, to champion into Tom's question. Tom's question some. Do you think this 4-day break is good enough, or should we rest players over the last 8 games? I would say, yeah, we should probably rest players over the last 8 games. I think we should. I think we have no choice. Tom Hane is showing the final 13 days, and it looks pretty harsh. Game in St. Paul, traveled to Ottawa, traveled to Detroit, traveled to Minnesota, traveled to Dallas, traveled to Nashville, traveled to St. Louis, traveled to Minnesota, traveled to Dallas for Game 1. They need to sit guys during some of these games. Considering the schedule, the last 13 days, this 4-day break ain't much. I feel you, Tom. Yep, I feel you. Yep, so great thoughts. And good question, Jay, and good answer, Tom. Yeah, good job. That was good. And I mean, that's with full sincerity. All right, the Derek Velska lightning round is back in the saddle again. And the annoying loud bleepity bleepers upstairs are back again, also. But anyhow, we'll continue. The Minnesota Wild can be the best they ever had been on paper. Yep. Oh boy. But if it's one and done, does it really matter at all? Listening to Faber, etc., talk about the relief of clinching. That's it. Yes, a certain portion of the fan base will buy it, but another will see failure. Yeah, if you just clinched, at least we made the playoffs. I remember when Jimmy Butler said that in his final year with the Bulls. When they're like, do you see this season as a failure, Jimmy? When it was like a first round, like, meh. It was like a 3-0 type of thing or whatever, sweep. It was just awful. And he's like, no, it wasn't a failed season. We made the playoffs. And it's like, wait, we're going to trade, the Timberwolves are going to trade their future away for this guy? And we sure did right after that. And I don't know. Oh, but he's a competitor, and he's got a fire. Yeah, well, didn't show it there. Yeah, we made the playoffs. You made the playoffs. So did 15 other teams, right? So, and that doesn't mean making the playoffs is nothing. But doing absolutely nothing in the playoffs is a failure if you're a team that probably looked like, the third best out of 8. You should do more than first round, I think. Maybe maybe overachieve a little bit once in a while. Wouldn't that be nice? Continuing. This is Derek again. How do you expect, again, Creasus' podcast? Absolutely wonderful show, of course. Great job. And he was on the show last week, but Teams gave us a hard time, and I did find the file. I apologize. I was like, I can't find it. Bleep Teams and bleep. All I had to do was scroll up a couple of lines, and there it was. Oh. That was embarrassing. But, hey, I found it. Next. How do you expect the Minnesota Wild to come out of this 4-day break, rejuvenated and motivated, or rusty and lethargic? I would argue history has shown it to be more likely the latter than the former. Quite possible. I know goaltenders, if they rest too much, it can be bad. Oh, boy. And then Lisa Ann simply says, yep. I think about so. I hope. It might be a mix of certain guys. Like, I think if, the Marcus Johansson will be rusty and lethargic. Marcus Johansson has been rusty and lethargic for a while, hasn't he? I can imagine that Hughes and Faber probably hopefully rested a bit and more motivated, whatever, but rejuvenated. I hope so. Not that they need motivation, but still, it's a bummer, It really is. Continuing, how on brand is it for the Minnesota Wild that Charlie Stramel breaks his ankle in his last college game just before he would have turned pro? Is there any prospect that had worse luck? Yep, Morty jumps in, says bruised knees on a couple guys, but that was before we drafted them. Rosie and his ailments. Yep, we had the 6. Yeah, with the whole thing with the hell do they call that again? Was it like fluid on the heart type of thing? That was really scary. Brandon Kittleson says, can I introduce you to Mason Shaw? Yep, the multiple ACLs. Derek says, no, but he's certainly a candidate. Tyler Kuma is also in the queue. Yes, nothing but injuries for Tyler Kuma. So, but yes, it's just the timing of the Charlie Stramel thing, and he'd been on such a run, Stramel. He'd been on such a positive run. To see it derailed with a broken ankle is pretty damn devastating. So, worst luck, the timing, I think, is about the worst of all time. It's awful. The good news is it's not, okay, I don't even want to go to those words. I'll say it. But you know what I'm hinting at. But definitely sad, to say the least. Lime and tomato juice for that one. Plus, I also wanted to finish it. I've been, needing to finish that. Next, Derek says, how would you rate the Minnesota Wild current TV broadcast on a traditional A to F scale? How would you rate the radio broadcast on the same scale? I like Joe O'Donnell. I think it's more like a B. I like the radio just fine. Kevin Fallness, I mean, you're either a fan or you're not. I'm okay with him. He can be a little obnoxious and homerish and stuff. Flush this one out. Yeah, they lost 7-1 to Dallas. Flush it out. He flushed that out. Okay, I think the toilet's clogged with that one. Sorry for being disgusting and graphic there, but those were disgusting games that he'd say that. Tom Reed. I've always liked Tom Reed, but yeah, I mean, it does seem like he's slowing down a bit this year. So there is that. That's why we're kind of going more of a B, because I like Joe O'Donnell a lot. Television, I mean, I don't know. It's okay. It's they have their moments. I mean, you love it when Lou Nanny's in the booth. Carter's all right. Stalock is pretty good. Walls, a lot of I liked him at first, and obviously he got stale. With a lot of people, Greenlay, a lot of people didn't like him for some reason. I don't know. And LaPantha is kind of like, he has his moments. I mean, LaPantha's claim to fame is the way he says, score! I like the way he does that. But overall, I'm not a huge fan. So I'll say more like a C-. I'm not going to give them an F. I'll say a C-. F, I think, is a little harsh. Maybe a D+, but no. 100 watts. Might be under one, I think. Yeah, I think so. Well, thank you for jumping on board. I'll give you a follow. Give me a follow back if you could. Thank you for jumping on the conversation. He says, who will really, quote unquote, be the starting goaltender for game one? Maybe sort out who the number 5 to 8 defensemen, yep, who they're going to be, to allow Hughes, Faber, and Spurge to rest up. Yeah, I'm not against that. How to get 97's mind right. Him and number 36 together again, maybe. 97, 22, 12. Ooh, obviously, I love that. Or 13. Or 13, yep, with that, maybe that big guy there instead of 12. 97, 14, 36. Yeah, that's a classic one. You have Julerson next entering Zuccarello and Kaprizov otherwise. I like Yurov, I do. I like Yurov a lot. He's definitely been quiet, and he says, ugh, here we go again. Yep, because that would be the same thing. Might have to be the Julerson line. At the end of the day, maybe Boldy, but Yurov going forward there. Could be worse, definitely. I'm not a big fan of Hartman being up there for sure, and I don't see Hartman's number there, so I'm cool with that. Yep, I can understand the frustration, the possibilities of losing again. And that's where the here we go again. But yes, I think I'll go with the final one if I must pick one. Gun to the head. Derek's hashtagging something here. It's like Steve Miller. Yep, Steve Miller. We should agree McCarron is the biggest win from Guerin's flurry of trade deadline additions and subtractions. Where do the rest stand? Is Foligno 2.0 making a difference? Petrie, Fabry, Brink. The team is struggling at a terrible juncture. Yep, and Brand Steve has definitely been, he's been doing a great job on the Crease Assist podcast, so nice conversation here. I do agree that McCarron is the biggest win. Where do the rest stand? Well, Brink shows some energy sometimes. Fabry, I think, is a guy who's just a depth at best. Kind of minor leaguish. Petrie, he's been okay when he's been out there. I think he's ancient history, but he's been okay when he's been out there. He's adequate. Foligno, a little bit better than that. Who's making the most impact? I don't know. Shoot. I'll say Foligno's second right now so far, but it's definitely it should be Brink pretty quick after him. It's kind of like maybe Brink will like surpass him with a good game or two, that type of thing. With the other guys, and then Petrie, and then Fabry is at the bottom. I don't think there's really anything really to talk about with Fabry at the moment. So not so much. We'll continue here. Unamas. Greg Gagne here, batting ninth or whatever it would be. Kalisha Turnipseed jumping on board. Definitely a member of the Crease Assist podcast. Hasn't been on lately, but when she's on, she's pretty darn good. The team is at least 2 legit pieces away from being a deeper contender. Only commenting on the limited games I've seen. It ain't something we ain't seen before. Hold off on extending John Hines. Yes, I agree. Till we can show we can win in the postseason. Seriously. Yeah, I agree, because she's never won anything in the postseason. Whereas like a Bruce Cassidy's won a cup, he's been to the cup, he's won the cup, like with the Boston Bruins, they got to the final before, so definitely had his moments. I would love to have Bruce Cassidy as coach. I would love to. But it's not going to happen. Otherwise, yes, I do agree with holding off on extending John Hines. So that's a good way to kind of wrap things up here. Yes, I agree with you, Kalicha. I really do. Yeah, seriously. Let's see some success in the postseason. Seriously. Yes, I agree with the whole concept there. I agree with all of that. So thank you. Thank you for the thoughts. All of you did a wonderful job, and really appreciate having you on the part of the show. Derek, always just the lifeblood of this show. Love you to death. Just so you know. Seriously, I need to participate more on Crease Assist. I don't think I commented, and I feel bad. They get a good amount of comments, so it's not like I was hurting the show necessarily, but I would like to, comment more, and it's fun, and I like hearing the responses. They're entertaining, they do a great job, and they know their hockey over there, just so you know. With that said, other shout-outs can go to MNW Young Guns / MNW Prospects. Great job there, guys. Pablo Burnett, Justin Bakke. You also have the Minnesota Wild Global, Scott Cavendish. Great page there, also on Facebook as well. With all of that said, just want to thank you so much for contributing to the show, conversating, retweeting. I really appreciate those of you that have been doing that. If you could give a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, it'd be greatly appreciated. Share the show if you could, if you haven't yet. And yes, it's worth everything to me, and I appreciate it so much. This show hasn't been growing too great of late. It's kind of like it's been stagnant in growth, so it is what it is. It could use a little help, and I could use your help out there if you'd be willing to do that. With that said, thank you again so much for listening. Thank you, the Hockey Podcast Network. Get your DraftKings app and have some fun with some of those goals you could put in, like, Jake Middleton's going to score against whoever, and then bam, you nail it. That'd be pretty cool. Might bring us some good money home with that. So with that said, take care, and we'll be back in a week. Hopefully this cold will be a distant memory.